Hello everyone, this is Grandmaster Ahmed and this is the last episode talking about mastering the Reti. And our defense here for black is what's so-called the Dutch defense. And again, as we have said before, how do I expect my opponent to play Dutch? If he plays Dutch against d4, then you might or you have a good chance to face this idea of f5. Actually, f5 here, it's kind of acceptable. Why? Because there is an idea, there is a concept behind it that, okay, you control e5, I control e4, thank you. For example, stone wall might be coming, etc., etc. But after knight f3, this move is kind of dubious. Why? Because I am not going to play d4. You can, and it's a slight dubious opening or slight dubious defense for black, but you're gonna go for a long theoretical war, which I don't like to do. But here I will suggest and recommend this move, which is very easy to learn and very simple. Now after d3, black has two ideas: either go knight f6 or going with d6. But you might argue, isn't that passive to play d3? Wait a second. After knight f6, which is the automatic move now, we go for this very, very powerful move, e4. Most likely, note that, most likely, if your opponent know this idea of d3 and have studied it before, then he will not go knight f6. If he went knight f6, then that's a sign that he has no idea about this position, because he thought, okay, he wanted to fight for the e4 square, I go knight f6, probably knight d2 will be coming, and then I'll go e6, bishop e7, castling, etc., and then we'll see what to do. But actually no, I go for e4 right away, threatening to take the pawn sometimes, e5 is coming sometimes. That's why in this position f takes e4 has to be played. Wait a second, what if d6? If d6, you can simply take, and now white to play. I'll give you 5 seconds in order to pause the video and trying to find the move. Easy peasy, d4. Why d4? First of all, this pawn is kind of weakness. Second of all, bishop d3 is coming. After you move the f pawn and the d pawn, e6 square is very weak. And the main protector of the weak squares is the bishop. So if you get rid of the bishop, then black is going to suffer or to be suffering. So that's why back and back after e4, black has to take the pawn. I will take back. Again, e5 is super annoying. That's why the pawn has to be captured. And after knight e4, simply bishop d3, attacking the knight. Knight f6, almost the only move. If you go d5, I can simply take, and then knight g5. You have a very ugly pawn structure. I have a better ending, not a much better ending actually in this position. I have the e4 square outpost for one of my knights. This bishop is great. So black is doing a very bad job here. So after bishop d3, the only move is knight f6. Okay, now I am a pawn up. Next will be e6, bishop e7, maybe castling, and okay, you have, or as white, you have a lead in development, and I'm fine. I can I can continue the game. But actually no, you cannot do it easily, and then you can go knight g5, and after knight g5, white is actually much better, and the main threat is knight takes h7. The point is, after knight takes h7, there's this checkmate, or there's this checkmate. So this is a very dangerous threat. I don't want to go any longer with this line, because as I said before, or at the beginning, if black went to play this position, most likely he doesn't know what to do, because this is much better, much better for white, and practically speaking, it's losing for black. He cannot find the defensive ideas now. Even g6, now you can take knight takes h7. Even g6, you can take knight 7. For example, g6 take, you take, and after take, like bishop g5, like come on, like queen f3, knight c3, you castle long, you castle short, h4, h5, h6, h7. You have plenty of ideas. That's great, fair enough, it's easy peasy. Okay, that's why it's rare to find a very strong player playing f5 against knight f3. Very rare. After f5, we go d3. And now d6 is the other idea. But you might ask, wait a second, we have seen this. You're talking about this move, which is d6. But how about knight c6 now? This is actually a bad move. but you need to know what to do. Many of white players will go e4 now, but e4 is not a great move now, because after, say, take, or even e5 right away, it's kind of a reversed king's gambit, which is a nice version for like white, for example. Let's go back a bit. E4, e5, f4, like say d6, for example. This is kind of a passive idea for black. That's why after f5, d3, white's not the move knight c6, because we have this very strong move again, d4. Be flexible when you play chess. Don't be a robot just following rules. Okay, I push the pawn and that's it. No. Sometimes you need to move the same piece twice and sometimes 3 times in the opening, just in order to put the other pieces in the right squares. And now you stop this idea of e5. This knight here is very misplaced. You will go d5 in the next future. Probably next it's a threat. And now what's interesting about this d4, sooner or later, black has to play this idea of d5. But with this pawn structure, black would like to have the pawn on c6 in order to support the d5 square. Because after, say, c4, e6, knight c3, queen b3 later on, then this square is going to be very weak and this pawn will be under a huge pressure. That's why after d6, after d3, that's why d6 is the move. So knight f3, f5, d3, d6. After d6 we go e4, and now e5 we go knight c3, and here 2 moves. Knight c6 is there and knight f6 is there. We'll start with knight c6. We simply now and only now take, and after bishop takes f5, again why to play. You cannot see in chess, you cannot go bishop e2 castling and play like half moves, as I said before. No, you need sometimes to fight at the start, and now it's d4. Why d4 now? Okay, normally whenever there's knight c6, knight f3, and you wanted to go d4, you need to make sure that e4 is not an idea. And now e4 is not an idea, because you have this very strong idea of d5. Now, if the knight moves away, then the d4 square is a great square. And if he took the knight, then simply you take his knight, and the position is just opening up, and black is going to pay for this idea of f5. Why f5 is not that well known? Why it's not that popular among strong players? Why, for example, Magnus rarely or maybe never played this idea of f5. Okay, he played it before, but it's not one of the main openings that he repeat over and over. Why, for example, Dingulier or Gokish try this in the World Championship? Why? Because it's not reliable opening. It's not improving the pieces when you go f5 at the first move. And after, say, bc6, queen f3, queen d7, now white has a very strong idea. Try to find it, and I'll leave you with this line here. Bishop b5, very strong move. I'm attacking here, speeding up the development, almost forcing this idea of knight to e7, and my advantage is great here. I'm not even a pawn down, I have a better pawn structure, better development, better of everything. That's why after d4 now, knight d4 is the main idea, and after knight d4, e d4, queen d4, knight f6 improving the knight, I simply go bishop f4, and after bishop e7, I go bishop c4. You cannot castle short now, and I'll go castling long, bring the other rook. My bishops are great, my queen is very well centralized. Castling queenside is not that easy, because I am eyeing the a7 pawn, so it's a very problematic position for black, and actually, practically, I do believe black is losing this one. So our last idea in this lecture today, which is after e5, knight c3, we have talked about knight c6. We said we take and then we go d4. So how about knight f6 now? But wait. You said if take. You said you need to make sure after d4 there's no e4. Or at least e4 is not a big of an idea. Is it? For example, if you're forced to go knight g1 or knight d2, black is massively better. So what's the idea here? The idea is simply knight h4. See, active chess. Try in the opening, or not just in the opening. Try to play chess as active as possible. And now you're attacking this guy here. If bishop to e6, then d5 is a very strong move. Why it's a very strong move? First of all, you stop d5. Second of all, this pawn is very weak. This bishop needs to stay on this diagonal. And say after bishop d7, you go simply g3. And one of the ideas of g3 actually is to go knight, knight. You could go bishop h3, exchanging these two bishops. The e6 square is the key. And imagine that after knight, knight, bishop h3, you exchange the two bishops together. The e6 square is for whom? It's for sure for white. And ideas like knight e2, knight d4, knight e6 to be coming as well. So after we go d4, again, if knight f6, we take d4. Attacking on e5. e4 has to be played. Knight h4. Bishop g4 has to be played. Black is trying to fight using time, or to gain time, not to lose time in the opening, because already he lost time with this f5. So after bishop g4, I don't want to move the queen, because first of all, it's not well placed on d2. Second of all, I'm giving time for my opponent. No, I'm not gonna give you time. Bishop e2, attacking the bishop. Bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, attacking the pawn. Now d5 to be played. After d5, bishop g5 first. Why bishop g5 first? I wanted to attack on d5. I'm threatening taking and queen b5. And then one of the pawns will be taken. So after bishop g5, bishop b4 is main. Now queen b5 check, forcing knight c6, just taking on b7. The knight is under fire, so knight d4 has to be played. This opening actually played quite a few times. Okay, queen b4 cannot be done because of knight c2, but it's almost +1 for white. You simply castle long, attacking the knight and the pawn as well. Many things is attacked, and this king is still in the middle of the board. So after castling long, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, the knight is attacked, no way to go back, so rook b8 is best, and now bishop takes f6. Making use of the fact that queen f6 cannot be played because the rook will be taken. And now after g takes f6, queen a6, the queen is very super active, trying to kick me away. Just queen a4, and the knight is under fire. After knight e6, you simply go rook h e1, and this is a much better position for white. Why? There's knight f5 to be coming, rook e4. It's kind of a threat now because after d takes e4, I have rook takes d8, maybe f3, but I feel like knight f5 is a super strong move in this position, and white actually is very much better. This is actually the last structure that we're going to cover. I know that it's not structures, but some side lines is not covered because this is not a full course, but this is like almost, you can think about it as 98% of your games. If you play 100 games, 98 games, you will know what to do out of the 9 episodes that you have just watched here. If you find it useful, please don't forget to share it with your friends. Maybe, I'm not sure if this is a good advice because sharing with your friends, they might use it against you, but share it somewhere and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because this is not gonna be the only opening that we're gonna master. We have many stuff to work on with black, with white is coming. So our idea is to provide you with a very good knowledge on YouTube here, because what I have seen on YouTube is something like, for example, you can see here and there some 10 minutes or 15 minutes about some openings covering one structure or just mentioning the move quickly. So here on YouTube you will find the content that you wanted just to learn and to master chess openings. Thanks for watching and see you soon.